Good morning and welcome everybody to the latest edition of this video blog that I started last year. Here in the St. Louis area, it's fantastic because the heat is finally broken. It is now it was in the 50s this morning. It was beautiful fall weather. We're hoping we can just maintain a little bit of that fall weather for a little while before it gets to be winter. We'd like to have a little autumn before that winter starts, so we don't go straight from summer to winter like we did last year. But it's a beautiful day out. It's going to be a great weekend, and just looking forward to kicking October off in a great way. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some about goal setting and knowing ourselves and how we achieve success, and how can we start to think about how we can bring that to our students and to our kids, and even and to ourselves, so that we can continue to make sure we're furthering who we are. Each January, I send an email to my staff, and I try to put in there a few different things, but I make sure that each year I include my resolutions for the year. I use it as an accountability way for myself, and just to let everybody else know kind of what my goals are. I feel like if I share them with everybody, I'm more likely to actually meet them. Last January, I sent a few things. One of the things that I sent involved me running a marathon, and I've been a runner for the last several years. I've ran a lot of different types of events, from obstacle course races to trail races to different things, but I had yet to do a marathon. So I kind of decided last winter that it might be fun to try to train and see what it would be like to run a marathon. Over this time frame, some things happened. I had a couple setbacks in the spring. I hurt my foot and had a foot injury, and ended up in a boot for a few weeks. And then a few weeks after I got out of the boot, I ended up with a blood clot in my leg. So, and they think the blood clot was probably due to the injury and all that good stuff, but it kind of pushed back some of my plans and my training and some of those things. So I started to get a little concerned that I wasn't going to be able to meet that goal of running the marathon. Um, so I started over the summer. Once I got cleared and was able to start running again, I started training, and my marathon is this week. So after being in a boot, some injuries, blood clots, all of those fun things, 16 weeks of training, the marathon is actually coming up. I bring this up not just to talk about the marathon, but for a couple of reasons. One, as you can see behind me today, I did include some of the posters. I shared, it was shared with my staff and with our students that I would be running this marathon on Sunday, and talked about some of the training and overcoming some of the obstacles and some of those things that I have done this last year. And so I came in this morning to the signs and cards and well wishes, even some fake running bibs, so for staff to wear as they encourage me this week. So first, it's just great to be a part of a fantastic community. The support's amazing. It's more than I would have ever anticipated. I thought it was kind of flying under the radar here, but they it's been shared, and so it's a great feeling to know that that many people are out there encouraging me. So I want to say thank you to everybody for that. But I also wanted to talk about this just a little bit, because one of the other goals I mentioned in there was around writing a dissertation. And I wanted to kind of be able to, at the end of this year, know that I had my topic solidified and feel like I was in a good place with regards to writing my dissertation. That work, the training for running is easier for me. The training for a dissertation and some of those things isn't always. It's easy to kind of get stuck in my job and stuck in doing the things that I need to do or want to do, and that can get pushed to the back burner. So I recently was doing this exercise with a small group of our staff, where we had to. It was a self understanding rubric, and as I mentioned before in a previous blog, talking about the idea that we are bettering ourselves, bettering our community, and bettering our world. And part of that bettering ourselves means we have to be aware of who we are and start to understand how we operate, and who we are as individuals, because all of us are different, and we all may need different things and have different strengths and different weaknesses. There may be areas where we're overachievers, and there may be areas where we're underachievers. So understanding that is incredibly important. So we did an exercise where we used a self-understanding rubric and started kind of going through and looking at what our strengths and weaknesses are. As I scored myself, I started realizing I tend to be a bit of a big picture person. So I can say something like, I want to run a marathon, and I can visualize it, I can see it, or I want to write my dissertation, and I can visualize it, and I can see the end. But sometimes it's the steps along the way that can be tough. Um, The marathon training is one thing because it comes with a 16-week training program, and it tells me on this day I need to run this far at this pace, and it's very set out and it's very structured and routine, and all that is given to me. Something like a dissertation is not. And so I recently reached out to my advisor and kind of texted him and said, now that we've kind of got some of these things squared away, I'm done with this marathon training. I almost feel like what I would like is to see if we could sit down and he could help me construct a marathon or a dissertation training program essentially, and say, we're going to do this and work on this for this amount of time, and make sure that we have this landmark hit, and there's this time, and you have rest days built in, and all those good things. So the things that have helped me kind of achieve my goal in one area, can I apply those in a different area, knowing my own strengths and knowing my own weaknesses? And again, this came from the process of taking a step back, using the rubric, looking at who I am and where my strengths and weaknesses are, and trying to know myself, even now inviting feedback from my staff on what they see and how this might be helpful for me. I mention all this because I do think it's incredibly important and oftentimes overlooked when we talk to our students or we talk to our kids about how are they going to be successful, and using their strengths and not just their deficits, of understanding what they need, what kind of supports and what kind of things they need to be able to meet the goals that they're going to set for themselves. It's incredibly important that they understand and see themselves as learners, that they see themselves and they know how they operate as learners. Do they know how they learn best? And so that when they're adults, when they're put into a problem or they're put into some sort of situation that they're trying to overcome or they're wanting to solve, do they know what they need in order to help be successful? We can sometimes overlook that at school because we're so busy telling kids what they need that we sometimes overlook helping them understand. I'll use this story as a way to kind of encourage you to think about how you understand yourself, to think about how your children understand themselves, and how can we help them be more aware of who they are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and what they need to help make sure that they reach all their goals. Thank you again for tuning in here and for listening to me for the last few minutes. I hope it's something beneficial. Please share any thoughts, well wishes, concerns, questions you have. I look forward to the conversations. I look forward to all of those pieces. And just want to say thank you. And next time we talk, I will have hopefully met this goal. Thank you.